protect the linguistic identity and cultural diversity of all deaf people and other sign language users. According to the World Federation of the Deaf, there are more than 70 million deaf people worldwide, more than 80% of them living in developing countries, i.e. Nigeria. Collectively, they use more than 300 different sign languages. And the resolution establishing the day acknowledges the early access to sign language and services in sign language, including quality education available in sign language, is vital for the growth and development of deaf individuals and critical to the achievement of the internationally agreed development goals. This morning, I've been joined by an expert in the field who would be answering questions we've got for her. I've been joined by a development consultant, disability sign language inclusion champion, convener, CEO, Speaking Fingers Network, and I'm talking about Treasures Uchegbu. Good morning.
Good morning, Oma. Thank you so much, Smooth FM, for having me. I'm happy. Hello, viewers. I'm excited to be here, particularly when you are talking about our Christmas.
Okay, I see what you did there, but no, we have like some 4 months or thereabouts to go, less than 4 months. But so let's dig into the conversation this morning. Yes, this very special segment of society we want to give attention to and how we treat them. So because you are the expert in the field, I'd like you to help us understand what life is like being deaf and living in Nigeria. Because from the stats I've seen, it says most of these persons live in developing countries. So take us through this first for the background.
Okay. I could tell the story of a young deaf person more, because our work is providing life skills and leadership development for young deaf adolescents and youth. So we have an initiative called the Life Work Ready program, where they should be ready for life and the workplace. So a bit of background how it all started. I had worked as an HIV counselor tester. In one of those days, a deaf 21-year-old walked into my booth. I couldn't sign anything. And I had her HIV screening done, and the results came out positive. I mean, HIV positive. So, and I knew it could be prevented, having also certified as a trainer, a master trainer in HIV counseling and testing. So I set out to say, okay, I was going to learn sign language. And when I learned, what usually happens is what we know sign language is in events where someone is signing in either a religious place of worship, someone is signing, or an event. And in the space, except for schools, we only have those who are using it in the school to provide education, but who is providing life skills such that that young deaf person can actually have assertive skills. Like there are things that Oma will give it to you and you say, no, I don't want, because you are informed. So who is providing such information so that he or she can take informed decisions? So that was my motivation for learning sign language. So I learned as an adult, and it means no one can learn. So understanding that, for instance, informational barrier is already existing, where he or she is not able to get information on her sexual reproductive health rights to know she has options to either say no or decide on if she or she want to have sex with that person, and not as a result of her vulnerability or as a result. So then another challenge is early education, like you have rightly mentioned in your intro. So last year, there was a 10-year-old we came across who has never seen the 4 walls of school. In fact, currently now I have a 13-year-old who must be in school by Wednesday. So at 10, we are just helping her learn. She's learning how to hold a pencil at 10. She has multiple this at 10. So then by God's grace, this year, on the 9th of January, she was enrolled in school. And today, when I see her, she's able to do good morning because she has an identity, because language is also part of her identity. So you can imagine where everybody's using gesture. But right now, there's meaning because there's a language that has been provided for as a means of communicating to her. So if you are talking about life of a young deaf person, I could tell you that informational access, as it also concerns the adult, because we also run adult literacy program, which we call back to school for the adults who has not been to school and would want to be educated.
Now, certain factors or certain things stick out like a sore thumb from what the background you said. It seemed, from what you said, like we're society, we've not been prepared to carry this segment of society along all this while. They've been left behind. Now, this brings me to, is there a definite policy on education for the deaf in Nigeria? If there is, help us break it down. And then
okay, so if you want to say something specific for the deaf, we are beginning to talk about inclusion. We are talking of inclusion from the place of human rights, because the issue of disability has been an evolving discussion from that charity. Let's just go and include them or philanthropy. Let's give them access to it. Let's just no. We've moved beyond that. We now have legal framework that our dear own country has signed into. For instance, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, which is the CRP, which we call the Disability Bible, to our Lagos State Special People's Law that came into force in 2011, to our own dear Nigerian Disability Law that came in 2019, January 23, precisely. So it's talking about including and leaving no one behind, which is the palace of the UN. So a lot of framework to say include, provide. SDG 4, for instance, talks about quality education for all. Nigeria has signed or is also a country that has ratified. Our dear president recently gave a speech at the UN General Assembly last week. So what it means is that it's beyond just doing it specifically for the deaf. It's now, like George Gray will say, inclusion is not a privilege of few, but it is human right. Yeah. So what is meaning is that our educational system should, because there are these legal frameworks, there are these laws that we have ratified and also have passed. What it means is that we should make, whether it is health services, whether it is educational services, whether it is media like you are doing now, you are providing video for people to be able to watch. So you are providing options so that by so doing, when everyone is included, all of us will win. So it means we should all think inclusion. That's the thinking, that's the paradigm we should all have, rather than say, let's do something specific for the deaf. Right. So if you talk for the deaf, you have special schools that people get to learn to work with persons with
disabilities. You've just taken the words off my lips right now when you say that's the point I was going to. So, but since there exist special schools for these special people with difficulty in hearing now, the question, would it be a human right or fair to them to educate them side by side, people who don't have this defect in hearing?
Please come again.
If they have, from a standpoint of human rights and fairness, would it be okay to develop, let them be educated side by side, people who can hear, who don't have this disability or a difficulty, challenge in hearing? That's the word I was looking for, challenge.
Okay. So beautiful. It's beautiful to call, Nigeria recognizes 8 clusters of disability. So it's good, it's beautiful to say deaf persons, it's fine. Okay. So having said yes, like you have asked, whether it is fair, is about providing education for all, because the world we live in is not excluding.
If it's all inclusive, so no need to send them to separate schools. They can also exist side by side and then be given that same education.
Okay, so you mean us having an exclusively deaf school, for instance, up to university level, they are bound, we have them. Then we now have the inclusive, all inclusive of other clusters of disability. For the school where we started our work, it was an exclusively deaf school. And I see there had been a beautiful milestone. I know over the years when we run our camp, people have always said, why don't you bring everybody? I want to understand focus by providing that exclusive service for this particular population. However, if we come to our world, because even the disability of deafness is not a visible one, for instance. So they live in a hearing world. Like yesterday, I worshiped in our all-deaf church. We have an all-deaf church where they are providing. So such places exist to provide a safe space, provide that our own thing. However, the larger society is not exclusive in its nature. So that's the idea behind inclusion, of making sure that they will always meet their hearing peers. They will always meet people who have other disabilities. So why don't you give them that experience of having it even right in the classroom? So it's providing options. For me, that's my perception, providing options. Looking at it that, okay, if you decide and say, I want to have a school I want to go to a school that is inclusive. For instance, in some universities, they have provided, but most importantly is equitable service. Equitable is such that you can provide, because the deaf people are not homogeneous. Deafness is measured in decimal. So there are people who are profoundly deaf. There are those that are moderately deaf. There are those that are speech impaired, for instance. So yes, how many would you start excluding that way? And you know it per time as we make progress. So for me, it's providing that options and providing variety, and that the rich diversity is beautiful for me.
Okay, we would take a stop. I see a sign here. It's a red sign for us to allow traffic go by. But when we come back, there's still more issues around ambiguity in terms of signing, and how we can create a sign literacy for the entire population, so we can also reach out to these as special people in our midst in terms of reaching out to them. If you just joined in, you're listening to Lagos Talks 981 on Smooth 98.1 FM. Our guest is still here with me, Treasures Uchegbu, a development consultant, disabilities, sign language inclusion champion, convener, CEO, Speaking Fingers Network, Lagos. And we'll be back after this time out. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. So when we come back in a bit, we'll pick up from there. Okay, can you hear me? And so we'll pick up from
yes,
that.
Yes, I can.
Okay,
yes.
So just take it. We'll be fine. Quickly come. Sorry, what's happening? Why do we have this? This one will go right. Okay. Okay, stop. So thanks. Noted. I don't stop now. No. Thank you. That's why I wanted to, so that's okay. We're good. We're Smooth 98.1 FM. You're listening to Lagos Talks 981. I still got my guest here, Treasures Uchegbu, speaking to us in terms of inclusion for persons living with a disability and development of the society, with special focus on people with deafness. That's what we're looking at this morning. So before we went on the break, you were speaking on the need to provide, there should be inclusion in terms of education. Let there be option. If they decide to go for specially for school selective, just for people with deafness alone, that's an option. But if they want to go to a mixed school where people who by side, there should also be an option, no limitation. That's where we left it.
Yes.
Okay, this brings me to the next conversation we are to have. A society where we're trying to bring people out so they can, all the means of conversation for them will be through sign. Speak to us about the prejudice to sign language by the rest of society, and also touch on the existence of ambiguity in terms of how have we been able to resolve what a sign is, and it's like universal. So if I am in London, I say come, or if I'm in Nigeria, I say come, you know, I mean come towards me, but not when I go somewhere else and I make a sign and then I've just probably insulted someone. So I'm just trying to speak to all of this for us.
Okay, so first of, if in terms of ambiguity of sign language, well, it's a gradual process. I'll be glad to let you know that the very first recognition of sign language as sign language was done in 2018. So does it mean the deaf community started existing in 2018? No. So if that was a huge milestone in itself. So the issue of trying to say, let's now have one universal sign language, that's a journey on its own. If you are proposing that, Omas can actually, you can put that in forward. So we are still in the euphoria of, this has been recognized as a language in itself. Then the challenges that they go through, at least there's a language to communicate. You can make a hand gesture. As African, we talk a lot by gesture. You've actually been signing by virtue of moving your hands. So we don't, there's no universal sign language. However, sign language as sign language is universal. So countries are developing theirs. They are unique. I love context a lot. So even if we are drawing these laws, drawing these conventions, drawing these global rights and all, however, what works for us, there's something about us as Africans, as Nigerians. So if, for instance, amala, eba, you know, you won't find that in English dictionary. So NSL is also being developed. So there are a cluster of people working on developing our own Nigerian sign language. But two major sign languages stand out, which is the ASL and the BSL. ASL is the American Sign Language, which is a derivative of what we speak in Nigeria, and BSL is British Sign Language. So we understand that challenge, the challenge of you saying come in ASL, and it is something else in BSL. And you have even gone to the extreme to say it could actually mean something insulting in itself. However, first is, let's even celebrate that we have recognized sign language as a language that can be used to communicate with the deaf populace. So if it's a work in progress. So I would say we don't have a universal one sign. For instance, in the English we speak, we were colonized by the British. And I jokingly always tell them in class that the American Sign Language, in this case, it was the Americans, you know, we tilted, we bent towards the American Sign Language here in Nigeria. It's actually very easy. So this is an advocacy for you to learn ASL.
Okay, I might be wanting
we are yet to get there.
Yes. Okay. So at this point, just I'll get back to you shortly, but I like to get the listener at this point to know they can be part of this conversation on 014489981. We expect you to get calls in. If you have questions for our guest this morning, Treasures Uchegbu, Development Consultant, Disability and Sign Language Inclusion Champion, Convener and CEO, Speaking Fingers Network. She has answers and then she could address them for you. So that's also one. We could also read your WhatsApp messages on 0809-444-0981. Get them coming. So once again, the number for you to call 014489981. If the calls come in, we'll pick them and then get you talking this morning. So let's get back into this conversation. Still staying with the universality of sign language and what you've been able to put across. I understand South Africa just in July adopted sign language as its fourth language. So how soon can we get Nigeria to that point?
In a country where we have challenges funding research, so organizations that are doing it, we're all working in silos, as it were, but there's an organization in the forefront of saying, okay, we want to be able to do this for our dear country. Research costs money. It requires a lot of funding because you need to travel, you need to go wide. And you know, in a diverse culture like ours in Nigeria, Yoruba will say, you didn't represent us in the sign. How about Amala? And an Igbo person comes up and say, you didn't put fufu in the
no okazi, no bad.
no okazi, no afang, you know. So by the time that is beginning to happen, so it will take a while, but like I will always say, it's a work in progress. We are not yet where we want to be, but we are also not where we used to be. So it's ongoing. It's ongoing. South Africa, if you dare to ask them, I'm sure it didn't just happen in a flash. It took years and years and years, like in the global space, it took years and years before we arrived at 2018, 23rd September 2018. So I would say when it is out, I'm grateful that media professionals like you that is also joining to champion this cause by providing awareness, by ensuring that the public are enlightened. We'll also be very much aware to say, oh, okay, let's put it out there, celebrating our own Nigerian, unique Nigerian sign language. Communication still is ongoing. It's ongoing.
So if eventually we get this concept of representing ideas in languages in sign language, for us, let's even look at what other society now where the deaf also, they need information because they are part of the society. Now, for times of political ideas, economic ideas, and many other issues need to be communicated across to them. And so only recently, we only found there would be this small box by the TV screen where they just give. So what does that say? It just means that's a small place we can give to them as just if they even find time to represent, let's say, the news on TV and all of that, so they can get an idea of what is being said.
So the beauty of variety. So that small box is where you have the interpreter. And platforms like Zoom, the virtual platform, especially during the pandemic, COVID, we had Zoom, Google Meet, the virtual platforms also upped their game by providing caption. So videos like this can be captioned. Thank you. On YouTube, you'll find this CC option, the closed captioning option for it to happen. So that is a form of communication also, providing access. So when we watch movies, when the deaf community watch movies, they are also smiling at a comedy because they have also read it. Then also I've heard, so another thing is also looking at the population of those that are not deaf to those that are deaf is also informing why the box could be small. I'm not holding brief for anyone, but I know that technology is ongoing. At the last conference we held, we had, just like you are sitting where you are, there's also an interpreter also highlighted, not in a small box, but in a full-fledged screen like we have. And like I said, it's evolving. It's evolving, and truth is that it's just finding ways to ensure that there's access, there's inclusion, and there's usability for who says a deaf person can also develop and say, because I remember when the nose marks there was a transparent nose marks that also came as a result of COVID, because you also need your facial expression when you are signing. So I don't know if the person was deaf, also thinking of inclusion, developed a transparent nose marks where when if you are communicating, that works also for a deaf person. So each challenge brings us to a milestone, provides us an opportunity for us to be able to say, let's create something that is better, let's build back differently, which is the theme for the International Day of Persons with Disability in December. So I can say it's progressive, and every milestone should be celebrated. So it's not a put down and say we don't have it yet. It is about how can we create, what else can we create as a result of this challenge? How can we provide access?
Okay, still talking about access, and I believe days like we're celebrating now is one of it, but I'd like you to expatiate more on the purpose for the International Sign Day and how it can help us create that sign literacy we are striving for. We're striving to get balance of what you call just literacy in terms of reading and writing. Here we are now, we are going to grapple with the literacy of sign language too.
Okay. So it's not overwhelming. It's not overwhelming. It's telling us how advanced our world is. There was a time we were using infrared. Is it still available?
Infrared, who uses infrared any longer? I can't even, yes.
Even Bluetooth is going with the way it is, and
yes.
it's giving way for more better ways of transferring files. So even though we are still grappling with the literacy of reading and writing, and now there's sign language,
yes,
it means that our world is developing and we must do what? Pace up and catch up with it. So it's easy. And sign language is even very expressive. It's something we do on and on. It's just trying to find meanings and put meanings to how our hands, our gestures are being done. So it's easy. It's sweet to learn, and it's when you know the benefits of it, your facial expression, because it's an expressive language, you probably lose your wrinkles. That's some motivation to say, let me learn it. Like, you will not learn French because there's a Frenchman down the road. You are learning it and like a bragging right to say, I know how to speak French, I know Spanish, I know it, I can speak Italiano and all that. So you could also add that. But beyond that, there's a population of persons that you use this, and that provides a platform. And by learning it, creating this awareness, we are providing access, knowing fully well that there's a language that we can use, there are options that can be provided. The deaf people are also involved in economic activities. Yes, so they do business.
This brings us to a fine place to see the sign once again, which asks for stop. But I have a nagging question, and that relates to the availability. If these people must learn, then do we have a developed system for the alphabet, the foundation for which the knowledge will be passed across? But save the answer. When we come back, we'll get the answer from you shortly. And you two listening can be part of the conversation. Get ready to give us a call on 014489981 or send us a message on 0809444091. We are Smooth 98.1 FM.
Well done.
We're Smooth 98.1 FM. It's still Lagos Talks 981. It's gone 27 minutes before termination point. I still got my guest in the house. Uchegbu of the development. She's a development consultant, disability, sign language inclusion champion, convener, CEO, Speaking Fingers Network. Before we went on that short stop, it was to ask you the existence, if there exists a known alphabetical order in deaf education. I'd like you to speak to that.
Yes, there are non-alphabetical order. Like you learn English, and what's the first thing you get to learn when you are learning English? Is the alphabet. Okay. So, So there's the alphabet, which is the basic thing you ought to learn, you need to know. So by knowing the alphabet, you can finger spell words, like the word on my chest, for instance. So it's saying hello. So for a deaf person, the moment she says just do hello, can just do hello to me. So the alphabet, how many alphabet do we have? I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you. So,
I'm learning fast already. So, I can see the signs there.
Yes,
so I'm just...
So, and you see, I'm just celebrating and clapping for you like that.
Oh, awesome.
Because when you do this, the deaf person will not hear you. So you express it, you smile, and you say, oh, this is applause. So yes, how many alphabets do we have?
The last time I checked, we're 26.
Yes, it has not. It didn't change when it came to sign language. So it's the same ASL 26 alphabets that is also signed in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. So it is learned, and I would like to put it.
Your network is, I just hope the network gets better in a very short while. Let's get that. Getting to that very interesting point. We lost that. So I'd like you to do that once again. For those who may want to go back to YouTube channel to view it, this would just be the first crash class they would get on the alphabet. So just do that. They can.
Awesome. Okay, so we go A, B, yes. C is curved. Your C is looking beautiful than mine. D, your index D.
Yes.
Then yes. E is like E, really. Being the small letter E. F. See it. F is a yes, like you doing door.
Yeah.
G is like a gun, using your index finger and shooting somebody, not on that other side. G.
Yes.
H is like double barrel.
Shoe. Yeah.
Awesome. Double. I is your pinky finger.
Yes.
Awesome. Raised. And use your eye to generate the J by winding it like
yep.
Awesome.
J. I got it. Yes.
So K, pretend your index finger and your middle finger have been quarreling all the while.
Separate them.
Use your thumb to separate the fights. Put it in between.
In between.
Yes, that is K. Did you see your hand making a K?
Yes, I see that.
Yes, then L is L, using your index and your thumb.
Yeah, I've seen. Good.
So if you write M in the air, you have how many legs? 3 legs.
3 legs.
Beautiful. So put your thumb on your pinky finger and close your index, your middle, and your ring finger to make M.
M.
Yes. So reduce it to 2 so that you have N. We're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there. N.
O. O is your O is like O, really. O.
Yes.
Then P, we tap. So it's like bringing your K down and pointing your index in front. So point your index. This is P. P. Yes, awesome. Q is like picking up a cube of sugar. A cube of sugar, awesome. Then R, quickly, R. Keregbe, stand still, command, freeze. I don't know which era. Then S is a fist. S
like
is
this,
a fist.
S.
Yes. T is putting your thumb in between your index and your middle finger. So if you shake this way, it is saying toilet. You want to use the toilet. Above the head is saying you want to give testimony.
Oh.
And tomorrow is what? Tuesday. So we come to the interesting letters. U. Let's go. U. V.
V.
Everybody gets W. So if this is UV, what do you think W will be? Awesome. Then X is the funny one. X is the funny one. Your index doing the anchor. Y is both your index, your thumb and your pinky finger, 2 branches and a long tail.
Yes.
And the letter Z is your index finger signing Z in the air. So let me see you do that. Z. So let's spell smooth FM. S.
Okay. S.
M.
M.
O. Remember your O. So because it's double, you move a little bit to the right. You have double letters. Then T, remember the testimony, the toilet, yes. And H, the double barrel. H. Then FM, F, remember, F. Yeah. Then M, the 3 legs, awesome.
Thank you. All right. So guys,
just done smooth.
Thank you very much, Uchegbu. You've just shown us. But if you want to catch up all of this, you can go over to our YouTube channel and see what we've just done. Is just a crash course. This in itself, if you get it, you just may be able to communicate with a deaf person by just even spelling out the words. That's what I've just picked out from this conversation now. It even starts with as basic as learning to spell with them. Just get them to be patient and you spell what you're trying to get across to them. And then it's a good way to start the literacy for sign. Thank you very much for that crash course. So let's pick up the pace on some other conversations still relating to this one. Now, how adequately I'm worried. Every day, even for those of us who can still talk, we can hear, we have issues communicating our thoughts and our feelings. And every day, technology keeps evolving and throwing things our way. Imagine in 2020, the COVID came on. New ideas will come up that we need to communicate in our language, and then it stays. How adequately can we capture our culture and then technology and other spheres of life in this sign language?
Beautiful. Like I said, is a learned skill, is also taught. So we are also advocating that people learn. So by learning, you can also be able to communicate what culture, what values you want to give, or what thoughts you want to send across, whether it is technology. And like recently, there's a technology that is turning a hand glove that has been developed to turn signed words to text. So it's evolving, like I said. So it means that we must continually bring these conversations up from time to time, and not like a one-off discourse or like a touch and go intervention. So it means we need to keep doing that, so that by so doing, so you learn. At the last camp, we run a summer camp every year. As the last camp, the deaf teenagers were charged to go back to their different communities and homes to ensure that their parents learn how to sign, their families learn how to communicate, their community persons. So there's a young deaf person out there that will be willing to also pass across the sign language knowledge. That's an informal way. Religious organizations are setting up sign language classes. Other than going to say, I want to do special education in full-fledged, you find out that, community centers are evolving. So by this doing, somebody can just catch an idea and say, oh, I could actually do this. The Lagos State College of Health Technology has integrated sign language, where I also lecture, into its school curriculum. So can it be integrated into the curriculum of schools, curriculum of where training institutions can also learn? In training institutions for our medical doctors, training institutions for our nurses, training institutions for our teachers. So it becomes something that is a part of us. We run clubs in schools where in mainstream schools, children are learning how to sign. You can imagine a place where I'd ask them, who are the users of sign language? And a boy in primary 4 raised his hand up and told me, Mumu people. So I knew we had a challenge. So these are stigma. These are discriminatory, derogatory languages that are fueling our space. Where did he hear it? If he grows up to become a policy maker, will he make policy for Mumu people? You see, if we say no, I don't know if you speak Yoruba, you see people say put leaf in the mouth. The deaf person pursues you so that it fuels the narrative that they are always stubborn, they are always heady. So who is there? So I tell people, I say, what eats leaf?
We'll just strive to quickly get our guest back. We're speaking with Treasures Uchegbu, she's been speaking on a great deal relating to the need for inclusion of persons living with disability, especially the deaf. That's what she's talking about. And this is in relation to the International Day of the Sign Language with the theme, A World Where Deaf People Everywhere Can Sign Anywhere and Be Understood Everywhere They Go. Now, because it is a unique opportunity to support and protect the linguistic identity and cultural diversity of these very special people in our midst. We've been told that these people, they're intelligent. We must tap their skills, tap all the resources they have, because we cannot leave anyone behind in the quest to make society better. Because the more we leave this very special set of people behind, it means that we as a people, as a country, we've not grown. We would always come back because we cannot hide them. So we must help them to utilize and go out to the full potential that God has created them to be. That's what it is. So let's not discriminate against them. And as it is said, that most of these people even live in developing countries. Well, my question I'll be asking Treasures, if she comes back before this time, would be for a language set that is just having 300 just set of languages signed to do all of these explanation and pass on knowledge. One wonders if 300 signs are enough to get all we are thinking about, across to these people. But I understand we are due for a red light stop. When we come back,